Hello. Welcome to Two Kims.
One pod.
And I am one Kim. My name is Unji Kim.
I'm the two Kim. I am Peter Kim. Thanks so much for coming back to our podcast. Speaking of podcasts, I'm launching a new podcast.
I know. I'm really excited.
Yes. It's called
Tell us
Instant
more.
Gratification. It is a podcast. It's different in structure than this podcast, where this is kind of like ongoing.
Yeah.
That podcast is like seasonal. So we have 15 episodes for the first season, and then if depending on how it does, we'll pick it up for a second season. Mm-hmm. And it's a podcast hosted by myself, a comedian, and a friend of mine, Brandon Renfro, aka Scott Riley, who is a adult film star / sex worker. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about on this podcast how I feel about sex work. That it is,
and your initial meeting, and your initial meting.
How he and I met.
Yes.
I talked about in this podcast.
Yes.
For those of you who missed it, we were at a gay resort in Palm Springs. Mm-hmm. I sat down in a hot tub. A fine black gentleman was ignoring me. And he was high.
And Peter couldn't resist, yeah.
And I was just like, okay, what the hell's going on? Why are you ignoring me? We're both naked in a hot tub. Like, what the fuck? And then Brandon walked by, his friend, and was like, hey, bitch. And he's looked up all like high and looking up. And he was like, why are you looking at me all squinty-eyed? And I turned around and was like, excuse me? And he was like, oh. And I was like, oh. And then we started laughing, and we spent 4 hours in the hot tub together. Anyway. It wasn't until 2 hours in that I realized he was a OnlyFans personality. Like, because he kept saying to his friend, like, oh, we filmed ourselves having sex. And I was like, work, let me watch it. And I thought he was just being like funny and kinky, but it actually turned out he was doing his job.
Yeah, he was describing work. Yeah.
Filming a scene. Mm-hmm. And he was like, okay, you need to pay $7.99 for that. And I was like, duly noted.
Maybe next month. You have a layaway? What's the Klarna payment?
I'm like, do you have a monthly plan? He's like, that is the monthly plan. But yeah, we kicked it off immediately, and he was such a like interesting person that was not a comedian, and no one near my space of work. Sure. And all his stories were so fascinating, and I was starting to realize that he and I had a lot in common in the way we approached our work. For example, storytelling or playing a character. For him, when he meets his clients, he's playing someone that they need him to be.
Oh, for sure.
As an actor, I'm playing certain roles for the scene or the movie.
So can I ask you, like, when he meets a client for the first time, do they have to fill out like like a questionnaire?
Very good question, which is answered in episode 1 of our new podcast. So just to give you a tease, you guys should tune in when it launches in a couple of weeks. But he has an extensive like conversation with them before they even meet up. Okay. Yes. Of all the like boundaries. Yeah. Fantasies, wishes, where how far he's willing to go, how far they're willing to go. Mm-hmm. All of that in like very dry terms is agreed upon before they even meet in person. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think that like any sort of communication with someone belies something about their personality, even if it is very dry and clinical. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that is also a part of it. Like, as someone, it's interesting when people, I've known people that have done sex work, and whenever they describe their interactions with their clients, it's like such a like open communication that occurs that feels so wanting in romantic interludes. Like, if someone could be that plain spoken and open with a professional, why couldn't you be that way with your partner? I have an answer for this, and which is a reason why sex work works. Yeah. Because, and I think that's why I enjoy sex workers, because there is a clean dynamic between us in that there are no intimacy issues. There are no issues of expectations being not met or communications failing. It's the easiest, most, sorry for the pun, lubricated way to deal with each other in a highly like sexual scenario, but without any of the trappings of like modern day courtship or dating or any of that. It's like just, and it's not just about like, they should call it intimacy work. It's not sex. Sure, that has a lot to do with it, but this is also a thing he answers in the first episode. A huge amount of his clients don't even have sex.
Yes, this is my experience with it as well.
It's a lot of holding, listening. They want to be heard. Like
and
a lot of these,
the experience what you're describing is like one of intimacy.
Yes,
right? Where it's sex adjacent. That is the work, absolutely. And so, when I was asking that, it's because a lot of people that I know that did sex work. What was interesting to me was how self-aware their clients were of their own failings, their own boundaries, and what they wanted and expected. That was to me like so shocking that they were so self-aware. Like I'm in a high-powered job. I do this. I need to feel small and stepped on. Like I need this to contrast. And like to be that self-aware and know that this is what's required to keep me balanced as a human being. I was like, I would never have expected that from hedge fund man.
And that's why the sex work is so important, because they can't get that type of expression of self-awareness anywhere else.
Right.
It's like therapy. It's a safe space because this person is paid to understand you in this specific way and without judgment and all love or all acceptance. That hedge fund manager can't express that part of themselves to literally anyone in their lives. Not a friend, not a foe, not a fucking coworker, not a wife, husband, whatever, kids. They can't express their true self to anyone, but a sex worker they can.
Can I ask you, do you think that they should be able to express that to their partner? Or do you think this is something that has always been and should be a part of society?
A private dealing?
Yes, like with a sex worker very specifically. Someone practiced
I see what
in
you're
this
saying.
craft.
I think the latter.
Yeah.
I think this is a thing that should be used as a service.
Yes.
Like your wife or husband should also not be your dentist.
You know what I mean? I shouldn't know this. I don't need to know this about you.
This is a not need to know. Like you don't need to share everything with your partner.
Oh,
now, if you're not sharing enough with your partner, that's a different story, right?
And I should know that you're going to this person, but like I don't need to know, especially especially if you know
I don't agree with that either. I think if you both are aware, because hopefully I think in a relationship you're able to access that type of like I'm not happy or I'm not fulfilled, but this is the reason why. Because if you're in a relationship, you know your partner's not fulfilled, or you know they're not happy or whatever. Like you spend every goddamn second with them. The way they breathe differently, you're like, "What's up?" You know, like you know it.
Did you take your antihistamine? Claritin D.
Loratadine. But you obviously don't scratch it or you don't deal with it because you're not available for that or whatever the reason, right?
Yeah, I got to wake up in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say me and my partner doesn't like, I don't know. For example, he doesn't like to do rope play because it's just too much. Or like, it's, I don't know, whatever. Like they just are not into it. And that's
ropes
okay
killed
if
their
your
mother.
partner.
Yeah.
Their mother was tied up in ropes by King Kong. But they have this thing that you can't provide. But I think that's, again, depends on the couple, but I would think that I would want to be in a couple where I can tell my partner, hey, this is a thing. And they're like, I don't know. That's not for me. And for me to be like, okay, what about a sex worker that helps me with the rope play that you don't want to even deal with? And that would be perfect for me if someone could be like, okay, go do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you don't have to do yoga together. I could do yoga with someone else.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a part of this where like, I don't need that much communication around it. There's a part of me that like kind of wish it was just more French. Like, you know how mistresses and this sort of like auxiliary relationship is very allowed and permitted in that culture. And I
like
think
go
that
out and get what you need.
Yes. I think and you don't need to necessarily involve me. Like I can understand like tacit understanding of it. But there's like, you know, there's parts of every person I think that is cordoned, or, you know, like maybe not every single person is like this, but I think a lot of people have a part of themselves that they keep to themselves. Or like to themselves.
100%. Yes. As you should.
Yeah. Please don't share.
Some things are for you.
Yeah. And so like, if something there requires you to use the services of a sex worker, I don't need to share that with my partner. And
no.
Yeah. And if I'm their partner, I don't necessarily need to know that either. Especially if it might change my perception of them.
Sure. I get that.
Yeah. So like,
go
off.
Go do it.
Yeah.
I really do think it's a very necessary part of our culture, as is therapy for your mental stuff. Like it's all tied together. Like, especially if it's like a kink that you need, you really need, you know, not like, oh, this is cute and turns me on. Like, you need this to get off. I think that's a very valid thing that a sex worker can help you with, right? For example, your example of the hedge fund manager who's like high powered and needs to feel lowered or whatever,
needs to have his balls stepped on. Yes.
Sure. And if you need that, there is a person out there that with communication will figure that out for you and with all the boundaries and stuff. But not just
their safe word is like bear market. Okay, sorry.
Losses. Short it. I think that a cool thing I learned from doing this podcast is that I asked him, I was like, okay, for example, this guy who needs the balls to get stepped on, what is your like take on that? And also like, if you're into doing it, or if you're like, okay, I'll do it for the money, like, are you hoping that they keep wanting to do that so that you could keep making money? And he was like, his whole point was, I'm here to help them. And if through me, they get that out of their system and don't need it anymore, then hallelujah. And I was like,
yeah,
but even if that means you don't make more money, he was like, yeah, because I'll make money doing other stuff.
Sure.
But this is something that is clearly like intertwined with some kind of psyche thing, right?
Yes.
The high-poweredness of it all or whatever. And that fantasy of feeling lower or whatever. And he was saying how like he would love to help his clients experience that so that they don't have to experience it anymore.
It's immersion therapy, right? There's parts of it where, absolutely. And also because sexuality is so fluid, like what you require today may not be what you require tomorrow or the next week, what have you. And
he tells me his clients like are very short term in that way, where like they come to him and they come back because they can trust him and he is, great reviews, but like he's a professional. It's a consistent experience. Any reason you would go back to any service, right?
Yes.
But he was saying how like a lot of the kinkier customers are short term, because
Of course.
that is something they are trying to experience without
Mm-hmm.
shame, without judgment, blah, blah. And once they do, it's literally just out of their system.
Right.
So that's quite interesting to me that like he acts as like a sexual therapist more than like anything else.
I mean, I think it's also, what is it? The person that accompanies you over the river Styx? Like he ushers them.
ferryman?
Yeah. Like he
Yeah.
ushers them from one part to the other, right? There's a person that is like, holding their hand and walking them through the experience. And then once they get to the other side, then he's
They're like,
done.
"Oh,
His
I'm on the
role
other
is
side."
done.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
His role is complete. And I
Yes.
think that even the discussion of kink or sexual desire in this way is really healthy. Because,
Yes,
yeah, of
'cause
course.
we're
Of course
so
it changes.
puritanical.
Because also, of course, your sexual needs would change. Of course, it's a manifestation of like where you are mentally. It was interesting because, you know, the people that I like, there's the Japanese government was starting to employ women to do sort of like stuff like this to address this like loneliness epidemic of like a specific age group of men that were isolated and living alone and not doing anything, contributing to society, and reintroducing them required this sort of hand-holding, literally, intimacy to teach them. To teach them. And it's like something that you think is going to be so intuitive and natural, but it really isn't.
No, and
It really isn't.
I don't have kids, but like my parents didn't teach me anything about any of this.
No.
So, and nor do
No.
we learn, like, we don't learn it via our like books and TV or whatever the fuck. Like, it's all very much shrouded. And it's like,
I mean, this
we're
is
thrown to the
IRL.
wolves.
And this is truly something you can only do IRL, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you're going to fail at it, especially in your teen years. Like, that's like the thing where some of the digitization of the experience of teens, I think it's like tied up with this, is because you need to fail in this. You need to shoot and like kind of experience like what it's like to get close to somebody and then fall out and like pushed boundaries inside of those relationships. And you can't do that over like social media. You have to be in the room with them. Like literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's if it's not natural, it's something you really need to figure out. Like it's a hands-on experience situation.
And there is a reason why it's been the oldest profession in the world, because we constantly are recreating situations where sex is taboo, kink is taboo. You know, we're not communicating enough with
Yes.
each other, with our spouses, or, you know, we're not dating the way we should be. We're just going around telling each other lies and upkeeping some kind of like capitalistic view of like what love and marriage should be. And like all of that.
Yes.
That's why sex work has never gone away, because it can't. Like we're like stuck in this way of viewing ourselves and our sexuality because of our society. Ergo, and that's, you know, how they keep control. It's like, you know, age-old stuff. But like sex work has to be on the side in order to like keep it all balanced.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like as I'm thinking about it, like intimacy is what makes us human, because like sex is sort of like all animalistic. Like it's the intimacy part of it, this relationship. And it's, you know, when you think of like ancient Greece and like I think there were like the work that you're describing, I think it was like a specific god, and you could go there and it was the priestesses there were like doing this work very specifically. And, you know, yeah, like that's sort of the thing that separates us from the most animal parts of sex, is like this idea of intimacy that you would need to,
The idea of vulnerability with another
and connection
person.
between
And
each other.
connection.
Yeah, like because like otherwise it's just, you know, it's pillaging.
That's where love comes from. Like love grows from intimacy.
Romantic love. Yeah.
Yes. Even I would say even like friendship love or familial love, like it comes from intimacy of like being close, being understanding each other more. being able to put yourselves in their positions, like that kind of stuff, like revealing more of each other to each other, feeling safer and safer. Like that's all of it, you know, and like we have so little of that. And I think that's why OnlyFans is crazy.
Yeah.
Because we're looking for it, obviously, somewhere else.
Yes.
Like, even this parasocial, like texting with porn stars, like people are paying money
for this connection,
to have these relationships with these
perception
people
of intimacy.
Intimacy, yes.
Yeah.
Like fabricated
truly.
intimacy. We are starving for it.
Wait, can I ask you something? So when you were talking about like platonic and like platonic and even familial love and this intimacy, you know, when you said that, the thing that came to mind is, did you like entwine your legs with your mom? Do you mean when you were like just
like
hanging
when
out?
We were young?
Yeah, like where you know
No.
where you're just like hanging out, you could just kind of like laying on top of one another.
No, we were bereft of intimacy. This is where my issues come from. I wasn't touched or hugged or told I was loved.
Yeah.
Any of that.
I mean,
Why
I
do
was
you
never
ask
told
that? Because
I never was told. I intertwined. I never had. I was never told I was loved. All of that stuff. But like in my family, there was always like a lot of touch. Like we were always like on
That's
the
amazing.
couch together, like feet together.
Do
you know what I mean?
That's amazing.
That's
I would
what,
love
like,
to
yeah.
have that.
And I remember
My
when I was
family
trying
members
to make,
like recoil from each other.
But it's like, I think it's a very Korean thing to kind of like always be like when you're watching TV, you kind of like your feet are together. Like it's like a thing.
We didn't do that.
Yeah, that's so
We were very cold.
crazy. Because
my
like,
mom's
you know,
only
yeah.
show of love was acts of service.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
But even
And
then,
that's
like,
why
know,
I show that. I replicate that to my partner.
did she pick your
It's like-
ears?
She did. She did. Yeah.
Like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's so like.
That's an act of service.
Yeah, it's like active service, but you're like physically close. Like you have to be in each other's
Sure.
space.
It's like monkeys
And like,
grooming.
yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's like a part of that. When I remember when I started to make like really American friends or like non-Korean friends, it was like I was always trying to touch them, like, you know, feet, or like whenever we were just hanging out, it was like not a big deal for our feet to touch and like lay on top of one another, kind of. Not like on top, but like, I mean.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that. Maybe I like picked it up culturally without even knowing, because I do that with Eric, my partner.
Yeah.
Or my dogs or whatever. Like I'm very like touchy. I get my toes ingrained into his toes, like that.
That's
kind of
what I
stuff,
mean.
right?
Yes.
So that I do,
Uh-huh,
but I don't do that with friends.
I tried to, and everyone American was like, "What the
They
fuck are
hated
you
it.
doing?" Yeah, hated it. And
Yeah.
I was like, but to me, it didn't feel like I was trying or seeking out intimacy. For me, it was just a built-in part of it. Like it was not a thing.
What? Being
intimacy,
together?
being together, liking one another. Like this is just basic. Like you don't.
Yeah.
You're not weird about each other's space. You're just in it.
Interesting.
And I didn't think of it
Yeah.
as anything to even negotiate until I started being friends with like American people.
White girls. Yeah.
Yes. Where they're like, what the fuck? Like, why are you trying to put your feet on top of mine? I was like, we're just watching
Right.
TV. Who cares?
Yeah. Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like, and it was, I mean, if
I had a
my
lot of
family's
that
crazy,
male
yeah.
on male intimacy in high school, of like
Yeah.
always touching each other, grabbing each other, hugging from behind, or like wrestling. Like it was that. It was very.
Yeah.
That's how we became closer.
So yeah, when you were
Yeah.
talking about it, I was like, yeah, absolutely. Even platonically, like there is, I don't know. I just like, I never minded like being in each other's space. And it wasn't something I became mindful of until I started being friends with like American people, white people, very specifically. Because I don't
Which
think,
is weird, because I've never hugged anyone until I met a white girl.
yes,
You know what I mean? Like we don't hug.
no, but like when you're hanging out, like your feet will touch. And like if you're listening and you understand what I'm talking about, when like you entwine each other's legs, kind of like your feet will be sandwiched in between each other's. Because it's like easy to do when you're lying on a couch, like together with your feet touching. Do you know what I mean? Like that's just how
Yeah.
it's easiest. And I think culturally,
You did that with your
yeah.
family, so you try to replicate that.
And I think that
because
yeah,
my
I
family
think,
never did it, I don't like think of
No.
doing it, I guess.
But I think also in other cultures, like it's very natural for platonic relationships to touch and hold hands.
Yeah, there's a
Like-
lot of like Eastern European guys holding hands down the street and stuff like that. Yeah.
It's like a thing. It's not as
But
much
not here.
not here.
Not here. We
That's
don't
what I
like
mean.
intimacy here.
Not at all. Like even platonically.
Yeah.
That's the part that really got me as you were talking about it. Like, right. Like in Korea, like
Girls always
platonic-
hold hands.
holding hands, your arms are like linked,
Yes.
right? But you're not hugging.
No, you don't hug.
No, you don't
Chest
hug.
to chest touch is crazy. Like,
But like,
are we
but like
fucking? What are you talking about?
but the continued
Side to
sort of like,
side.
yeah, side to side, like we're walking
Yes.
together. This like sort of natural, sort of regular
Glomming.
touch, yes, as opposed to the hug or
Yeah.
the handshake, right? That's like the
Yeah.
only thing that's allowed. But like if
Yeah.
you're watching TV, you're like on either side. Or you know what gets me is craziest thing is men who go to the movie together and sit with a empty chair between them.
Oh, that's crazy. That's so
You've seen
weird.
this, right? Or it's like
Yeah.
two men they've gone to the.
There's that whole thing
movies-
about urinals where like what's the proper amount of space two men should like be apart from each other at a urinal.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy because like before I came out,
Mm-hmm.
I would always be aware of how close I was to another man.
Sure.
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
after I've come out, I never think about it.
Why is it a thing?
Shame.
Shame.
Intimacy
Yes.
shame.
Intimacy
you too close,
shame.
man. You too close.
I mean, like it's really not a thing
Yeah.
in other cultures. Like absolutely not. Like if you've gone abroad, you know exactly what I'm talking about. In Europe, in Korea, Asia, all parts of Asia, friends like touch each other.
Yeah. Not
In
here.
America, not here. You only hug chest to chest. You're right. That
Maybe
is
that's why the
crazy.
sex work is so big here. And I think about like, could I be a sex worker?
You think about this.
I think about it.
Oh, why was
And
like my voice got really weird?
You think about this.
you think about this.
I think I would love to be an intimacy worker. As in, I just don't enjoy sex enough
Right.
to make it my work.
Because it's physical labor.
It's
You wanna-
laborious, honey. Let me just talk.
You don't want to sweat. You want
No.
to.
But if someone was like, if I had a client and he was like, hey, I'll pay you like $250 an hour to just hug and lay there and cuddle.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I could do it. Because here's what, like, I'll just wrap this up with go watch Instant Gratification. It's so interesting because he gets off on making his clients feel good. Like that makes him feel good. The money is
Right.
good too, but
Sure.
when he sees a client gets what they want, he feels that like
Fulfillment.
I
He
did
feels
it.
fulfilled. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if I have
I don't have that.
just to tie this back to comedy, you know how people are like, oh, I'm a comedian because I just love to make people laugh. And I'm like, not me. And people are like, I love bringing joy to people. I'm like, could never
me-
even think of
never.
it. Not once. Not once have I ever approached my work that way.
Truly never thought about it.
Not once. I'm only thinking about me and what I'm getting out of it. But and then if you like it, that's a great result. But like,
No,
I
but it's
literally
because that makes me feel good. Your acceptance like makes me feel good, but I'm not like worried about your.
I'm not going
experience
for
there.
that. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm going for my experience.
Yeah, it's like it's sort
Yeah.
of like a ricochet thing. Like the Rube Goldberg device of this is like I need to go there for it to get back to me.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I
It's
mean?
Like,
Like,
an
it needs-
indirect.
Yes,
yeah,
it needs to hit that for some reason before it gets back to me in order to give me the right
for
feeling.
you to feel good about it.
Good, yes.
Yeah, yeah. That's how I feel too. Like I have no like even when actors are like, "Oh, I just love connecting with an audience through my role." I'm like,
No.
"What?"
Truly,
Like I've
sometimes
gone
it,
through
like,
so many screenings of A Nice Indian Boy, and people come, and I am floored when people are like,
you're
this
so
really
good.
helped me. Oh,
Yes.
thank you so much
Yeah.
for going to watch. I
So
appreciate
proud.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So good.
Yeah, and people are like so generous about like this really like broke me because I have this and blah blah. And I'm thankful for their experience.
Yeah.
But I don't get off on that. Like I don't look at them being like, I had an amazing thing and blah blah. And I don't go like, I did it. Like that's not at all ever something I think about. And maybe that's an issue with me. Maybe
I understand totally. Like, it's not like even a job well done. Like, even that is not, it's really crazy because sometimes like on sets, like I figured it out now, but it used to like really bother me that no one was laughing. And it's like,
they're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to, because it's ruining the take.
Yeah.
But it used to be
But
very
your only
frustrating.
goal was for someone to crack.
So that I could feel good.
Feel good. Yes.
I'm not
exactly.
even worried about like the project or me doing a good job. I like literally is so focused on me getting to that feeling.
But okay, let me ask you this. What if you were on set and the scene or the movie writ large wasn't a comedy? Like, how would you feel good about it? Like, what would be your marker?
I mean, no one's ever asked me to.
But what,
I mean, like,
what if?
I will say that
You were in a show. You were there weren't you in
yes,
NBC,
yes. Yeah. I mean, I think at this point I do understand the craft and appreciate what it is to act and be present and do that with your partner and like get the take and all that stuff. That feeling satisfying. I don't get the same off.
You're not getting titillated.
I'm not getting titillated. I'm not like breathless afterwards and being like, oh, what a great take. Like it's never, I just understand like it as a job.
I
helped,
exactly.
Like I understand
I did my
like
job.
and it does, of course it's fulfilling to do a good job in anything.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do that.
Yeah.
But
I know the worst. Okay. So because we're talking about movies, I'll just close it with this is, exactly like what you were saying. Like, so in the rom-com in Nice Indian Boy, there is a moment.
You guys, please go see it. It's so wonderful. It's like what a wonderful like addition to like cinematic universe of a rom-com. Like it's my Big Fat Greek Wedding. It's all of that. Feel good, great job, like all of it. It's like, and also it's like quote unquote cultural, but without making a thing about it.
Yeah.
Like it's not
like
fetishizing it. Yeah. It's not fetishizing it. It's absolutely like My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
It's
where
like
it's
in
like
the background.
It's in the background. It's like this is like what the character.
Reality. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is what the character, and it's not like teaching anybody anything. Like all of it is. Yes, it's just wonderful addition to the cinematic history of rom-coms. Like what a gift.
Thank you.
How exciting for you to be like a part of it as well. Like whatever.
Truly.
Yeah.
I feel really lucky to be part of something so good.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It's
like
really
that,
good.
because you're part of stuff all the time that you're just kind of like, yeah, I did that. That was a job.
Yeah.
But like to watch, I've watched it 14 times, cried every single time. You know what I mean?
Cried like 4 or 5 times during, like anytime Jonathan Groff was crying, I was crying. Yeah. Like it was crazy.
Okay, so speaking of that, do you remember the scene? Now I'm going to ruin for people, but it's too late. It's been in the movies for 5 weeks. This is coming out probably after it's all gone. But watch it on VOD. It's going to come out.
Oh, great.
On like Apple and whatever, wherever you buy movies. I'm going to own a movie that I'm in. That's going to be so cool.
Okay.
So, there's a scene in the movie in Act 2 where Karen's character, Naveen, is like, I don't know if you'll meet my family or not. Like, they're kind of they're weird or whatever. And he's like, like, what are we even doing here?
Yes.
And they get into
a fight at their friend's house.
At the brunch table. At the friend's house. And there's a moment where Jonathan Groff cries when Naveen's like, yeah, I want the same with you.
Yeah.
About like this, it's the first time Naveen like says out loud like I want to marry you.
Yes.
He doesn't even say it actually.
No.
Like, he just.
I
like,
want the same
intimates
thing
it.
as yeah.
Yeah, and then Jonathan Groff starts like, he's like, really, and he starts crying.
Yeah.
So that scene.
Mm-hmm. Your button.
No. The opposite of the button, the downbeat of that scene is a brief moment where I reset the scene where I'm like talking about some date I was on.
Yes.
And I'm like, I say something about like, and then he leaned up and I puckered up and he's going in for the kiss and then he robbed me. Okay. So just a little BTS for you guys. The director was like, oh, we need a quick downbeat for this scene.
Yes.
Before we enter into them fighting, because we just can't go from like fight to fight.
Yeah.
So like, Peter, can you just like improvise a bunch of things?
Mm-hmm.
So I just like improvised a bunch of like crazy things.
Yeah.
And that one, it broke the entire room.
Yeah.
Including myself. Right after I said he had a gun, and I was like, this is crazy. I started fucking dying. Like, they cut it right there.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Groff was crying so hard that his eyes were watering, and like, we couldn't move on. So they ended up cutting into that moment where he's like crying for that moment where Karen is saying, I want to marry you.
Oh my God.
Is that crazy?
That's crazy.
And then
that's how close laughter. That's how close laughter is to sadness.
Truly, you're crying the same.
You're crying.
Yeah, and it was a moment where I was like, it's never gonna make the cut of the movie because I was improvising wild stuff and I was like, none of this is gonna make it. And then they put it in, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck? And then I see how they cut into Jonathan's crying. Yeah, from me breaking the room from before, and that would only the filmmakers would know that, like no one else knows that. But every time I watch that scene, I have this swell of pride. Yes, that I got to break the fucking room, and we had to like cut, and you got to keep it. You got to keep the tape, and I got to keep it. That is truly, there is nothing better for a comedic actor. Yes, to do something impromptu, spontaneous. Break the room and they go, it's so good, print it. That is okay. New goal unlocked. Like, hello. And I didn't even know that was a goal. I didn't know. I had no idea that was a goal. You could, because it's like truly like it's so. It's like one of those things where like on set you get to appreciate and you talk about it, and it's a thing that with your bonds. Actor friends, and you're like, that was crazy. We wasted a lot of time, but whatever. But it's never in the movie. No, it's never in the show. That's the NG. That's in the DVD extras. This is a DVD extras. Oh, but so to have that in theaters where my friends and family could watch that without even knowing that's what happened. Yeah, that's like my little secret. Oh, beautiful. And yours. And now yours. And now yours. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. If you have a chance to VOD A Nice Indian Boy, go check that out. Please do. You're gonna like it. You're gonna really like it, and watch it with your gays or anyone really. And especially during AAPI month. Hello, this is the month. This is the month. Yeah. Go buy it. Yes. Yes. And then June is Pride Month, so go buy it again because that's gay. It's gay. It's gay. It's gay. And tune into Instant Gratification wherever you find podcasts. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you next time. Bye. Bye.